Shostakovich's stories. Joseph Stalin, brutal Soviet dictator. Here's 29-year-old Dmitri Shostakovich's avant-garde opera, Lady Macbeth. He denounces it as this bedlam of noise, quacks, grunts, growls, and suffocates itself in an orgy of depravity. Shortly after, Shostakovich is summoned for interrogation. This filled him with panic, for his patron, brother-in-law, friend, mother-in-law, uncle, and 2 colleagues had been interrogated and then disappeared, presumed dead or near so. In fact, estimates give the total executed in Stalin's purge to be 750,000 people. But a miracle occurred. Shostakovich's interrogator got arrested and disappeared. He was free, for the time being. But his friends, colleagues, and neighbors abandoned him to social isolation. To be associated with a potential party enemy was to risk death. Shostakovich's income dropped 75%. He began sleeping with a packed suitcase on the steps of his home, ready to leave at a moment's notice should he hear warning of his arrest. At this time, his wife also became pregnant, and he ached for knowing he may miss his child's life. Yet, Shostakovich knew he must keep writing music. When capitalist plenty was casting doubt, as one of the only world-famous Russians, Shostakovich was useful to Stalin as lending credibility to the failing Soviet system. But Stalin wanted Shostakovich to write a traditional symphony, a celebratory symphony, music to invigorate the Soviet people and show the world the strength of the USSR. Yet, Shostakovich knew the Soviet people weren't feeling triumph, but fear. In this climate, he wrote his 5th symphony. It incorporated traditional triumphant themes, but still spoke to the condition of the Soviet people. People all over the Soviet Union attended performances of the symphony, and yet Stalin accepted it as well. What story do you hear? What emotions are being conveyed? Now, how does this part of the symphony tell a different story about Russia? But Shostakovich knew that the favor he currently possessed could disappear at any moment, and in fact did, twice more. The next time was due to his non-traditional 9th symphony. Shostakovich's 9th, in contrast to the hour-long standard for most symphonies, is less than half an hour long in total. Despite everyone's expectations for greatness, it incorporated next to 0 serious emotions, opting for silly themes and comical wind solos. Here, the brass and drums play the sounds of a military march, but instead of a dignified melody running over it, a lone piccolo squeaks out a funny song. The party, perhaps rightly, took the symphony as Shostakovich's attempt to tell the world that the Soviet Union's facade of power was only that, a facade. Picturing serious Russian soldiers marching to the tune of the piccolo is downright hilarious. The next time he lost favor was over the composition of Babi, which is, on the flip side, too serious. It critiques Soviet anti-Semitism by mourning the Russian Jews who died in the massacre at Babi. The USSR had failed to acknowledge much of the suffering of Russian Jews, preferring to focus on dead Soviets. And so Shostakovich opened his symphony with this line, sung by a menacing male chorus. Above Babi Yar, there is no monument. Later, the chorus continues to say, adopted from a poem by Yevgeny Yevtushenko, a Jewish poet, "And I am like a giant silent scream, above the thousands upon thousands buried here. Nothing in me will forget about this." Though by this point Khrushchev was the ruler of USSR and not Stalin, this blatant criticism once again put Shostakovich in a dangerous position. Despite all these struggles, Shostakovich lived in Russia for his entire 68 years of life, even with opportunities to defect. When his music is performed today and one feels the emotions of the man and the people he wrote for, it is as if they are brought back to life. The world will never be allowed to forget the fear in Stalin's Russia, the euphoria of revolution, the pain of those who died at Babi Yar. For choosing to preserve the history of the Russian people, enabling anyone to access deep empathy for their suffering, Shostakovich deserves the status of a hero.